Hello everyone, welcome to JS Score. This is Ajay Shah, and today we have one of the rankers of UPSC 2019, that is Mr. Pawan Goyal. Pawan has secured All India rank 131 in his third attempt. He is basically an engineer in electrical and telecommunication, and now he is with us to share all his strategy, the journey of UPSC, the journey of struggle, the journey of success, everything with us. So Pawan, welcome to JS Score, and first of all, many congratulations.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you for your wishes and thank you for having me here.
Yeah. So Pawan, tell us something about yourself, your experience of this UPSC. How did you enter into the world of UPSC, and finally you are successful with All India Rank 131?
So first of all, I decided to prepare for UPSC during my 8th semester. And actually, I got to meet one of my brother's relatives, like one of my brother's friend is a serving IAS officer. So I met him and I came to know that what impact you can create in the society if you are able to get into UPSC and join any service. You are able to do a lot for the society. So that was one of the impetus for joining the services. And so secondly, sir, there are many ways to serve the nation. Like you can join army, you can join NG or anything. Like everybody serves the nation. But the thing is, what do you really enjoy? So I really enjoyed reading about history, geography, polity, environment, and my nature. By nature, I like to know something about everything, which is also the demand of the UPSC examination. So these were the driving motivation for me for starting the UPSC preparation. And sir, as far as my experience of the UPSC journey goes, so sir, I have given 3 attempts. In my first attempt, I had just studied for 2-3 months, and I had just given it after my college got over. And I scored 90 marks in prelims. I could not qualify, but it gave me a moral boost because I was preparing for 2 to 3 months. If I can score 90 and the cutoff was 105, so I can manage and I can do this examination. Then in my second attempt, sir, I couldn't qualify mains because I had scored poorly in my optional subject. And thirdly, in my third attempt, I could manage to get into the list. So this is my journey with like ups and downs both.
Okay, so Pawan, what do you feel? What were the mistakes that you basically made in this journey?
So first of all, I'll say, sir, not giving ample focus to optional, because optional matters a lot. And the thing is that in GS also, I gave too much focus on GS papers. So in GS, you can at the max, you can score 110, 120. So that is only 50%. If we say that 250 is the total weightage of the paper, so it is very difficult to score 50% marks, that is 125. Whereas in optional paper, you can easily score 60%, that is 300 marks. So giving more focus to optional and giving more focus to essay. So these are the subjects which really make a difference, because in GS paper, it is very difficult to create difference because almost everyone is reading from the same sources. So this is...
So optional is the key to success, and it is a vital factor in the success, right?
Definitely, sir, definitely. It's a make or break.
Okay, so Pawan, today we will talk on answer writing, which is one of the biggest confusion of the student. So Pawan, the first question to you, what is the meaning of a good answer, and what is the meaning of art of answer writing?
Sir, a good answer is, like, suppose if somebody asks you some question about anything about agriculture in India, and a good answer is, how will you explain that person that what is the condition of agriculture? So you will start with, okay, what are the facts, some basic facts? What are the present scenario, or what are the challenges faced by farmers? What steps is government taking to solve this problem? What else can be done, or what is the way forward to it? So, sir, a good answer is, like, if you want to explain any topic to someone, so by reading your answer, he should be able to understand, okay, what does that person wants to convey? So a good answer is A, it needs to have good content. B, it needs to be structured. And C, it needs to be presented in a proper format. It should be presentable. And fourth, you should be able to write that answer within the given space and time which you have in the mains examination. So, sir, these are the 4 broad components of a good answer.
Okay, and Pawan, what is the basic structure of any answer? That means whenever we go, whenever we want to attempt any of the question, then is there something that this is my basic structure, and anyhow I have to write the answer in this format only?
Sir, I think so that we should not develop such a rigid structure, but like what I personally followed the structure of introduction, body, and conclusion. So, but one should not panic, like, because in mains examination, if suppose you're not able to write conclusion, then you should not start panicking and try to write whatever best you can during examination. But this is the basic structure which I used to follow: introduction, body, and conclusion.
Okay, Pawan, there is a confusion among the students how they should write. They should write para-wise or they should write point-wise. So, what was your style of writing in the UPSC?
So first of all, it doesn't matter whether a candidate or aspirant wants to write his answer in para format or in bullet format. Personally, I used to write in bullet format because it becomes easy for examiner to check your answers. And at the end of the day, examiner is also a human being. So the easier you make for him to check your copy, the better you will be rewarded. And secondly, sir, that since the time is less and space is more, so if you write in bullet format, then you're easily able to cover all the space within the given time frame. So my preferred choice was bullets.
Okay, bullets, fine. Tell me one thing, Pawan, because this answer writing, this is, as you said, that we have to write a lot of answer in limited time in the UPSC, then how one can develop this answer writing skill right from the scratch? What should be the steps of answer writing skills?
So firstly, before one begins to write answers, one begins to start writing answers, you need to have basic content with you. You need to have foundational understanding or knowledge of that particular subject. So I'll say that don't jump into the answer writing from day one. First, develop your basic concept, go through your book and develop your content. So this is the most important step. Secondly, sir, what happens is that then there are few candidates who think that, okay, once I complete the entire syllabus, I will start doing answer writing. That is also a wrong approach. So once you have some knowledge about a subject, you can start writing answers. And how do you have to do it? First of all, don't time your answers. That yes, in mains examination, you will be getting 7 to 10 minutes to write the answer. But initially you will not be able to write in 7 to 10 minutes. Your main focus should be on quality of answers. Are you able to write the answers in the introduction, body and conclusion format or not? And once you get used to writing your answer in this format, automatically your speed will increase.
Okay.
And
yeah, please.
And thirdly, sir, I'll say that if you want to start writing answers, then what you can do is that you can go through Topper's copy, that it is available online, and you will get an idea, okay, how do toppers really write their answers, and it will give you a lot of idea how to begin.
Okay, fine. So Pawan, on our website of GS Score, we have uploaded a lot of answers of toppers. We have more than 400 copies of toppers. So as an aspirant, what they should basically learn and extract from the copy of a topper, the best utilization.
So first of all, as I said that, okay, how do you really implement introduction, body and conclusion, this format? How do you write answer in this? This is the basic thing. Secondly, sir, the focus should also be on presentation, that, okay, when you will see a topper's copy, you will see that they have underlined the keywords or they've put the keywords in a box so as to highlight that particular point to the examiner. Then you will also see that they have made several graphs, maps, or some diagrams also can be made. So you have to look at the presentation. You'll also get about the idea of content. Achha, now initially what happens when somebody starts to write answer, they really don't understand, okay, what should I write in my introduction, or how should I conclude my answers? So by looking at the topper's copy, you will come to know, okay, how do you introduce your answers, or how do you conclude your answers? So these things should be looked at.
Okay, now what should be the format of practicing of mains answer? As you said that we should start the writing practice after some reasonable time. So the question to you is that students have limited time, fine. So say a student has 8 to 10 hours a day for study. So how to deal with the dilemma of whether I should go for development of content or whether I should go for practicing of answer writing?
So firstly is that as far as content is concerned, candidate should have read all the books, like basic books. Suppose if you want to do answer writing of polity, then you should have read Lakshmikant. Like this is the basic prerequisite and minimum prerequisite before writing an answer, firstly. And I think so once you've read the book, then you can start writing answers. But you should not, like, you have not read Lakshmi, it should not happen like this, that you have not read Lakshmikant and you've directly jumped into the answer writing. So that will not be the right approach.
Pawan, there was some interruption. Can you just repeat your answer right from the start?
Sure, sir. Yes, sir, sure. I'm saying, sir, that before one starts to write answer, as I said, that you need to develop your content. So suppose you want to do answer writing of polity, then you should have read Lakshmikant before you start writing questions of polity. So this is the basic prerequisite, that doing basic book is the minimum which you must do before you jump into the answer writing. Yes, sir. And once you have done that, then you can start answer writing. And you should start answer writing by practicing a question or two daily. So it is not necessary that you enroll into a test series and sit for 3 hours and then do a paper. That is also important. But initially what you can do is that there are so many websites, are there. You can do answer writing. You can pick answer question or 1 or 2 question daily and start doing answer writing.
Okay, means this answer writing should be a regular affair of a student throughout his journey.
Yes, sir. It should be a regular affair, I believe.
Okay, fine. So, Pawan, it is said that in our answer we should write introduction, then some data, some facts, some quotes, some reports of commissions and all. So, did you go for any kind of notes making, particularly for sprinkling your answer with such kind of new facts, which can give you more marks in the answer?
Yes, sir. I have made notes. So what I did is that I picked up the syllabus and I made 2-3 pages notes on every topic. So this was my approach, and in my notes I only used to mention the major points, something which is unique. So I didn't mention bureaucratic red tapeism or lack of political will. Like these are very generic points. So in my notes I used to write about facts. Suppose Niti Aayog has come with some report or some fact, data, and all these data I used to pick up from a newspaper. And so these notes will also help the aspirants to revise quickly, because we tend to forget the data, facts, report. So it is essential, if you have got some concise and crisp note, it will come handy it will come handy in case of revision.
Okay. Pawan, did you make any kind of notes in definitions, like definition of money laundering, definition of security, definition of fidelism? Did you go for any such kind of notes making?
Sir, I didn't make these notes for GS 1, 2, or 3, but I made such notes for GS 4, the ethics paper. So in the syllabus, they have mentioned some basic definitions like empathy, courage, compassion. So I made notes on these definitions, and I also wrote examples related to these definitions, both from my life and from life of eminent personalities like Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, like this.
Okay, fine. So, Pawan, did you feel that the approach of answer writing differs from paper to paper, or all the approach are same for entire paper of GS 1, 2, 3, and including ethics?
So it is more or less same. Ethics becomes a little different because the paper is little different from the rest of the GS paper. So to give an example, in ethics, I say that focus should be less on theory and more on examples. Like if question comes on empathy, so you should not only be writing definition of empathy, that okay, so and so empathy, because everybody will be writing the same thing, because definition is same for everyone. But what will differentiate your answer will be the examples and how do you practically apply that theory in day-to-day life. To give an example, if a question comes on empathy and you give example of Sonu Sood, let's assume that during the COVID-induced lockdown, he helped the migrants to go back to their homes. So such examples will make your answer stand out. Similarly, sir, in case studies, is there you need to write examples, you need to give multidimensional and practical answers. So ethics becomes a little different from rest of the GS paper. Otherwise, more or less, my approach to answer writing was same: introduction, body, and conclusion.
Okay, fine. Upon, do you feel that there is any scope of self-innovation in the answer writing? Self-innovation, that means some examples of yourself, or you are going to present some of arguments that has been developed by yourself. Is there any scope of that?
Definitely, sir. There is a scope. Like in ethics paper, there's a lot of scope. As I had said that with every definition, I had also written examples from my daily life. That where did I show compassion towards someone else, or empathy, or courage? So you can write about your personal experiences. Secondly, sir, as far as innovation is concerned, you can do a lot of innovation in your answers. Suppose you can draw graphs in your answer. You can draw maps in your answers. You can draw different and unique diagrams in your answers. So there are, and you can also write unique examples. For example, in science and technology, you can write different examples of artificial intelligence, or in national security, you can write different example of different weapons and etc. So there is scope of innovative answer writing.
Okay, okay. Pawan, see, every aspirant, they are reading the same book, same Lakshmi Kant and same The Hindu, same current affairs on. So you might have felt somewhere that how to make your answer different from the crowd. So what was your approach in that? What was your homework to make your answer different from the crowd?
Sir, my homework, as I said earlier, was of notes making. That in my notes, I had written specific examples. I had written about different reports. I had written about different facts. So these facts, reports, graphs, maps helped my answer to stand out. So to give an example, in GS1, there came a question about water stress. So I made a map of India, and I marked different regions in India which are water stressed. For example, Western Rajasthan, Marathwada in Maharashtra, Rayalaseema in Andhra Pradesh, Ladakh. So these things will help your answer to stand out. Facts, diagrams, graphs, are the way to go, I'll say, and unique examples.
Okay, so Pawan, the syllabus is so bulky, fine. And if you see the syllabus of, in fact, current affairs, then current affairs is also so bulky. So how did you decide that we should go for collection of these bits of syllabus only, as far as data is concerned, the pie chart is concerned, or a different diagram is concerned? Is there any strategy for this?
So first of all, I went through the previous year questions, and I tried to figure out that which are the questions, which are the topics which have got high probability of coming, or I jot down those topics or those facts which can be used in multiple places. For example, you can like jot down data about female like women workforce participation. Now this data can be used in GS1 in society. This data can also be used in GS3. This data can also be used in essay. So if you've got such data which can be used in multiple places, so this will also help you in remembering less number of data and facts, because you have to remember a lot. And secondly, it will also help you to, it will increase your chances of using that data somewhere in the paper, because this should not happen that you have learned a lot of facts and data, but you're not able to utilize them in your answers.
Okay, Pawan. Pawan, we would like to know your experience of writing your answer in this actual UPSC means examination. For example, let's take the example of paper 2 of GS, fine. So what was your approach with regard to attempting the questions? Means it was sequence wise or random wise? Number one. Number two, how did you manage your time that you were supposed to give equal quality proportion to all the questions? And number three, how did you go for this mindset that I have to complete this entire paper in 3 hours? What was your basically strategy for this?
So first of all, I'll say that this strategy cannot be made during the examination, and this has to be made beforehand. And for that, it is very important for the aspirant to do answer writing, and that too, they need to stimulate the examination condition. Suppose they are writing a mock test at their home. So they need to time it to 3 hours dot. They should not cheat. Achha, okay, I'll write for 3.5 hours or 4 hours. So by practicing before the mains examination, you should have written around 10 to 15 papers in the examination conditions. Firstly, this will help you to come up with your own unique strategy. As far as my approach was concerned, sir, first of all, I used to attempt the 15 marker question, because it becomes very tough to attempt those questions at the end moment. Because at the end moment, you are really tense that, okay, whether I will be able to complete the paper or not. And I used to attempt 15 markers before and then 10 markers. Secondly, sir, coming to the mindset, that how did I make my mindset to complete the entire paper? I had decided for myself that for 15 markers, I will be giving 11 minutes. And for 10 markers, I will be giving 7 minutes. So I strictly followed this. And suppose this used to happen that, okay, I know more in this question, but the time is over. So I used to skip. I used to move on to the another question, because what will happen that at maximum, if you are writing a 15 marker answer, at maximum, you will be getting 6 marks in that. But if you skip a question, then you will be losing 6 marks. So instead of like getting a little greedy and try to score half or 1 mark extra in a question, you will be losing 5 or 6 marks in case if you're not able to complete your paper. So we have to be rational in the paper while attempting the answers, and we have to strictly stick to the time which we have set for ourselves.
Okay, that means the completion of entire paper should be our target. Anyhow, we should complete the entire paper.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because in any case, what will happen? Suppose you will not get more than 5 marks in a 10 marker question. Okay, if you are able to write, if you suppose you give 7 minutes to a 10 marker question, you are getting 4 marks, let's assume. Instead of 7 minutes, if you give 15 minutes, you will be getting 5 marks. So by devoting 7 or 8 minutes extra, you are just scoring 7 minutes. But you could have utilized the same time for attempting another question, and you could have scored 4 marks in that. So that is why you have to strictly stick to the time which you have decided for yourself.
Okay. Pawan, we would like to know your strategy of writing the answer, particularly for ethics paper, because in ethics, students are confused on like whether they should first solve the case studies or the definition part, because in ethics, the question is quite complicated. So what was your strategy in this?
Sir, I started with the case studies. I used to start with the case studies in the ethics paper, because again, in case studies, you have to fill 4 to 5 pages, and it is quite complicated. You have to read the passage, you have to understand it, you have to decipher what are the ethical issues and dilemmas, and how will you overcome those issues. So, and it takes a lot of time, and it needs patience. So I used to start my paper from the case studies part of it. And again, like I had decided for myself, I won't be devoting more than 14 minutes. in a case study, and you have to stick with your time. You have to stick with the time because ethics paper is comparatively longer than the other GS paper. You have to write more in that. So it becomes a little more challenging to complete that paper. So one should strictly stick with the guideline, with the deadline you have set for each question. Secondly, write examples, write practical solution in case studies. Your answer should not be pessimist, it should be optimistic, but it should also be practical and doable. And thirdly, coming to the theoretical part of the paper, I had made notes for like proper definition, like if emotional intelligence is there. So you need to have definition for emotional intelligence. You also need to have examples which you can quote on emotional intelligence or any topic which comes in the paper from your life also and from life of an eminent personality. So this was my broad approach for an ethics paper.
Okay, Pawan, what was the time gap between the last time you wrote your answer and the actual mains examination, start of mains examination?
So pardon, I didn't get your question.
What was the time gap between the last time you wrote an answer and the start of mains examination?
Okay, so sir, I stopped answer writing around 15 days before the mains examination because I didn't exhaust myself.
Okay, fine. Pawan, students also have a doubt that they fail to sit for a long stretch of 3 hours with a paper. So any strategy for that? How to develop the habit of sitting for 3 hours?
So firstly, like if you can join coaching, so in that case, if you're not able to sit for 3 hours at home, then I will suggest that you join some coaching, some test series, because if you will go to a coaching center and you will see other people also writing paper, then it will motivate you to sit for 3 hours, and you will also have no option left. Like there will be no way out. So you will have to sit for 3 hours and write the paper. This is one thing. Secondly, that if you're writing answers at home, then I'll say that you will have to strengthen your willpower. Like there is no other easy way out for this. You have to sit for 3 hours, have a water bottle in your table so that you have no excuse for leaving your table. Close your door and sit for 3 hours, please. It is really essential, because if you're not able to sit for 3 hours at your home where you've got no stress, then how will you sit for 3 hours in examination, in mains examination, where there is a lot of stress? So this has to be done.
Right. Pawan, what was your strategy with respect to essay paper? Did you attempt a number of essay papers before the examination?
Yes, sir. I had practiced essay paper. So I'll say that first of all, you need to have content for essay. Now, most of the content for essay you will get from your GS preparation only. Apart from that, you also need to have quotes on different topics like education, health, women, environment. Secondly, you need to have some good examples, case studies which can be quoted. Then coming to the apart from content, the presentation part of like that, how do you have to structure your essay? There should be continuity in your essay. It should not happen that okay, your one passage is para is talking about something else and second para is talking about something completely else. There should be some linkage between the paragraphs. And thirdly, sir, I say that introduction and conclusion should be really good and it should be catchy. So personally, I used to start with an anecdote. I used to start my essay with an anecdote. And fourthly, sir, your essay should be multifaceted and multidimensional. You should not just write about one dimension, but multidimensional, like economic, political, environmental, legal. So because in the essay, what does the examiner want to know? He doesn't want to know how much information you have, like how much data you know or your knowledge. He wants to know your thinking process. How are you thinking about a topic? And the broader you're able to cover the topic in multiple dimensions, the better score you will be getting. So this was my general approach to the essay, sir. And sir, I also want to add that now from past 2-3 years, UPSC has started asking philosophical essays. And many people are not comfortable with philosophical essays. So I'll say that they should definitely practice 3-4 philosophical essays before going to their mains examination. And what they can do is that they should refer to some topper's copy to get an idea that what should be the approach to philosophical essays. And again, sir, the broad approach remains the same, that you have to expand on the topic from multiple dimensions. If I can give an example, sir, about philosophical essay, in this mains examination, there was a topic, what is good for an individual might not be good for the society. So I attempted this essay. So how did I approach to it? So my approach was that I wrote from historical perspective, that if you see like there are different conquerors like Ashoka, Napoleon, Alexander, you can pick any one of them. For their personal glory, they started conquest. And this led to like death of million people, as it happens in any war. So this was historical perspective. You can write about economic perspective. You have got economic fugitive like Vijay Mallya, Nirav Modi. For their personal benefit, they did a scam. So that was not beneficial for the society. Then again, you can write from environmental perspective, from legal perspective, from international relation perspective. You can write. So, sir, the so in philosophical essay also the approach remains the same, that your answer should be multidimensional and you should be quoting preferably unique examples so that your essay it stands out from the rest of the crowd.
Okay, fine, fine. Pawan, there is something called interlinkages of syllabus while we write the answer. Can you just explain it with an example?
Sir, interlinkages of syllabus. Yes, sir. Suppose, sir, any question comes in your GS paper and you're not able to understand, okay, how should I approach this question? So, sir, the basic thing should be that you should write the answer in economic, social, cultural, environmental, like in this perspective, and you can break the answers in your in the various subheadings. To give an example, suppose you can write about, suppose the water stress is there, as I was talking about. So, sir, water stress, suppose nobody knows anything about it. So first thing can be, sir, economic perspective, that okay, if there is water stress, there are many industries which require water, they will not be able to function. Secondly, you can write about social perspective, that what happens that if there is water stress, women will have to travel longer distance to bring water. So this will also hamper girl child education, because normally girls and women, they have to go to fetch water. This can be social perspective. Third can be political perspective, that what can happen that riots can start happening, or like vested interest can crop up, uh, and strain between the society can increase between different caste group, different religious group, in order to control the water body. So this can become, so sir, this is what interlinkage of syllabus is all about. That you, if you don't know an answer, or even if you want to write any answer for that, don't write it from one dimension. You have got the entire syllabus with you. You can also mention topic of GS2 and 3 in your GS1 paper and vice versa.
Okay, fine. So the crux is that we should write the answer from multiple perspective to fetch more marks.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Pawan, the last question to you: how do we approach the optional paper and GS paper differently? I will just put a question to you because you are from sociology background. Say a question comes: what do you understand by secularism, and what are the challenges of secularism? And if this question comes in GS, and if the same question comes in your sociology, then how would you write the answer differently in this question?
So the basic difference between GS and optional paper is that in optional paper, you also need to quote sociological thinkers, and you also need to quote sociological theory, and you have to show that how this theory is applied to the particular context to it. For example, if you're asking about secularism, okay, sir. So in secularism, you can write basic definition of secularism in your GS paper, let's assume, GS1 paper. But if it comes to sociology paper, then you also need to quote thinker that, okay, so that XYZ, this thinker said this about secularism. Then you also need to write about different perspective of secularism. Some will, like, because different thinkers have got different perspective of secularism, they think, and because of the different perspective, they will be telling that there are different challenges to secularism. Because if their perspective and definition of secularism is different, then the challenges which is faced by secularism will also be different. So you need to quote more thinkers and more sociological theory in your sociology paper, whereas in GS paper you need not quote all these things.
Okay, so the crux is that in general paper we should be general answer, right? I mean, we should not go much deeper into that.
Yes, sir. So yes. So to give a rule of thumb, in your GS paper.
Pawan, there was interruption. Can you just repeat it?
Yes, sir. Surely.
Just repeat the thumb rule.
Sir, so the rule of, yes, sir. So the thumb rule is, sir, when you are writing the GS paper, then you should write answer in such a way that a person who has got no knowledge about your optional paper, he can also understand it. Because GS is supposed to be general studies. Whereas in sociology paper, they want to test your subject knowledge. So you cannot write a generic answer in that. So you need to quote a sociology theory or any optional theory, whichever you're having in your answer.
Okay, fine, Pawan. Pawan, thank you very much. I would like to have your last words to the people who are appearing for prelims on 4th of October. What should be their strategy in that?
So firstly, I'll say that they should have faith in themselves. They should not get nervous, and they should go all out. Like hardly 40 days are left. So they should go all out. And this is the time to like study like 10 hours or 12 hours. and have faith in yourself. Practice as many mocks as possible and revise whatever notes you have. Don't pick up any new source. And on the examination day, stay cool and composed, because the paper is tough. Then it will be tough for everyone, and automatically the cutoffs will go down. So don't lose your nerve on the examination day, and stick to your plan, I'll say. And you will definitely clear the prelims and also this examination process with flying colors, and you will get service of your choice. And at the end, I'll like to say all the best to all of them.
Okay, thank you, Pawan, for joining us. And from the entire team of GS Score, we wish you very best for your future, and you get everything that you would want in your life. Thank you, Pawan.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.